Well, we have some pictures here that we are going to talk about. Here is this is part of the Craftsy class that you have been talking about. We have the recommended starter tools for a cake decorator if you're just starting out.
Yeah. The reason I came up with this list is to show you the instinct is to buy everything. And again, when I first started, there wasn't a million supplies. There wasn't Michael's. There wasn't, Buddy wasn't out there selling everything. It just wasn't what it is now. But that being said, the first thing you want to do is buy everything. The purpose of this list is just really to look at the very, very basic things of what you need. So you can see that you don't have to spend a huge amount of money. And I have the tools, all the other fun things, but this again is just a really bare minimum for the nuts and bolts, for the technical end of how to decorate a cake.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I find when I am doing a cake, these are the things that I constantly come back to. And when I am just throwing a cake together, these really are the standards. And
they are.
The other things are fun sometimes.
Well, yeah.
But here's another section of it. But these are the crucial. You have to have these things.
This is the foundation. And I teach a class on basic cake decorating, and I call it boot camp because there's really a lot of parts of cake decorating, but to really decorate a cake, you need to get the basics down, which is the base frosting and mastering that. And this is all you need to do it. As you develop your own skill set, the tools that you need are going to be completely different. I won't list off things, but there are some things that I don't buy, I don't do because I'm just not good at that type of cake decorating. But that'll come as you develop your own style. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this, goes to show that you don't have to spend a fortune just to get started.
Exactly. And that's just it. That's part of the point behind this list.
There you go.
Because it's hard because you're starting, you don't want to, and maybe some of us do, but it's manageable financially to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we need to talk about actually making your cake cake business an actual legal cake business, because I know that a lot of people, especially ones that are just starting out, are just doing cakes, without having a business license, without having the proper procedures taken. And so we're going to talk about a little bit of how and why you want to start an official cake business and what you need to do.
Okay. Fabulous question. Let's see, what's the word? Not every state allows people to operate business from out of their house. And it's something called cottage laws. So to officially and legally make cakes out of our house, we have to live in a state that has cottage laws. First thing you want to do is find out if your state does. And there's websites that will tell you right away. If you don't live in a state that allows you to legally operate a food-based business out of your house, I wouldn't be too alarmed because you still have a lot of great options. So the answer is going to be a little lengthy, but if you can still do it either way, either out of your house and I'm not talking about a retail bakery, but what our steps would be great if your goal is to have a storefront, a brick and mortar retail bakery somewhere, because there's options for those of us that can't work out of their house, commercial rental space, commercial kitchen rental space. Restaurants can rent you space, churches, civic organizations. When I first started, I live in Massachusetts, so we have cottage laws, so it was okay for me. I worked out of my mother's house. I outgrew my mother's house, and I went to a local, it's called the Marine Lodge, it's the Masons, and they rented me their kitchen space. Really short money. So you got to look around and be a little creative. Caterers, there are options. But in either case, whether you're working out of your house or in a rented space, there are certain permits that you have to get. But it sounds intimidating. The first call I would make in either case, whether you're working out of your house or you want to rent kitchen space, is call your town hall. They're the ones. I mean, I can tell you step by step what to do, but it is going to be a little different for every single solitary community because all our towns have different bylaws and ordinances, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing you do want to do is even if you live in a cottage state, you want to call your zoning board, and that's the town hall. They will help you. They're really there to help you. Their job is to help us. They want us to succeed. They're not going to say, they're going to tell you what you need to do to get to work out of your house. You're also going to talk to the Board of Health. And they're going to tell you what you need. I was really scared, but they're there to help us. Their job is to protect the public. So they're just going to teach us how to handle food safely. And stop me if I'm talking too much and getting too technical, but
no. I think this is all information that people want to hear and need to hear because
it's important, and it's the right thing to do. You know, you can do it. You know, maybe your neighbor's going to call, maybe a competitor's going to call, but you know, there's not police out there. But if you're serious and you want to do it, it is easy to do. Even if you rent, so if you're working out of your house, you need to talk to your zoning board. They'll tell you exactly what to do. If you're working out of a rented kitchen space, chances are, if it's a legal operating licensed kitchen, you're already zoned. If you're renting, like I did, the Marine Lodge, or what's another place like a Marine Lodge, like a Knights of Columbus, you know, still check in with your local authorities. In all cases, you have to talk to your Board of Health.
We have a good question here. Someone is asking, how long should we expect the process of setting up a home business to take?
That's a great question. The big wild card is your zoning board. Here's an example. I guess a better way to let me tell you my little story. When I decided I wanted to start Delicious Desserts and I wanted to start out of my mother's house, I called the Board of Health first, is who I called first. And they said, you have to call the zoning board, make sure your address is zoned for business. Did all that. So that was all quick. That was half hour. If the zoning board had said to me, yep, you are A-okay, go ahead, I would call the Board of Health. They would, the time it takes to turn around an application is a week, 3 weeks. It depends how busy they are. Because literally, I find out I'm zoned. I say to the Board of Health, here's my application. They set up an appointment, and it's immediate. So that it can happen really quickly. That's how quickly it can happen. And for when I worked out of my mother's house 22 years ago, it probably took me 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, to be legal and up and running.
That's great.
Here's the other side of the story, not the other side, the next chapter of the book. I outgrew my mother's house. I moved into the Marine Lodge, and that was turnkey. I had to get a new health permit because I was in a new location. I outgrew the Marine Lodge. I moved into my house where my business exists today, where we're at, and I called my zoning board, found out that I was zoned for business, but they require home businesses to be on 1 acre of land.
Oh, wow. So
that was a little red flag. But, and this is why it's really important to go talk to them, tell them everything, because they said to me, you need to have a variance, which that term just scared me right away. But they said, and you have to have a board of hearing and all this. So basically what they said is, the rule in Falmouth is you can have a home-based business, or the rule where I live in Falmouth, you can have a home-based business as long as you're on over an acre. If you're not, we need to break the rules, but we can. Requires a hearing. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need anything. So I'm on a half acre of land, and the purpose of the hearing is to allow your neighbors to weigh in on how they feel. Because the zoning board is there to protect the community. Mm-hmm. So for what we're going to be doing, and I know this is a leap, and I hope I shouldn't say it on the air because it'll come back. No, our business, I don't think, is disruptive. I did have a problem when I had my hearing. One of my neighbors, I think she thought I was opening up a Dunkin' Donuts because she really raised all kinds of flags. But the process can be very quick. The process can be quick. When I moved, they scheduled my hearing as quickly as they could. So it took about a month to get approved in my existing location, and that was just because of scheduling.
Okay.
And some places will have a waiting period for people. Once they make the decision, they have to put it in the paper saying, we just said delicious desserts can work out of 44 Candace Way. Anybody, it's like, in a wedding, like anyone object, say now or speak now or forever hold your peace. So it's going to be a little different, but it's a quick process.
That's good. I think people are intimidated in that process, and so they either don't take the steps to do it right away, or they just get this overwhelming sense of this is just so much, and I'm just a stay-at-home mom. How am I supposed to do this? But if you're really going to be doing cakes for people, it really needs to happen. It really does. For your own safety as well as for everyone else.
Absolutely.
And if you take these steps, you're more likely to act as an actual business and to charge what you're worth, and to make sure that you're doing things right, because it's your business on the line, so
it's true, and it validates what you do. I mean, it really does.